We have two major occurrences affecting the college football playoff rankings here during the noon Eastern time window. Week 10 of college football right here, the voice of college football. Appreciate you being here. Let's discuss it leading up to Georgia and Tennessee. I will take your comments and questions there in the live chat as well. Let's first focus on Ohio State Northwestern. It is just about to go final. The Wildcats had the football, last gasp, lose it 21-7. Buckeyes score 21 straight to close it out again, 21-7. Two major points of emphasis on the negative side for Ohio State, or one sure negative and one interesting development to offset possibly that negative. Negative number one, first and foremost, this is the dominant narrative for the Ohio State football team going through the stretch drive here in November. They can't run the football. They can't run the football against anybody. Nobody. Zero. Nobody. Ever. They're not running the ball against anyone. We excused it against Iowa because Iowa has a stout, top-level, top-tier, top 5 to 10 defense overall, top 10 defense in terms of stopping the run. Okay. They still needed to run the ball better than that against Iowa because look at Michigan and their effectiveness in running the ball against that same Iowa defense. Okay, then to last week, Ohio State couldn't run the ball against Penn State. Comparison again, Michigan ran it down Penn State's throats, embarrassed Penn State, 418 yards on the ground. Okay, Ohio State couldn't run it until very late in the game. Travion Henderson with a big run as they finally cut him loose there in the fourth quarter. Finally. But the nuts and bolts of it was the offensive line play, deplorable for the Buckeyes in the ground game. Great pass protectors in the ground game. Now we see, after playing a tremendous Iowa run defense and a good Penn State rush defense, Ohio State goes up against an awful Northwestern rush defense that even despite playing the likes of Southern Illinois and Miami of Ohio and some bad teams in the Big Ten, still had the number 105, the 105th ranked rushing defense in the country, yards per play, and number 109 overall, rush defense. And Ohio State couldn't run it the entire day until late in the game. So we talked about it during our halftime analysis. Check it out. We went a little bit more in depth in terms of the Buckeyes' struggles, and this game was more about the first half than the second half, because in the second half, the Buckeyes plotted their way to a win, obviously separated themselves. There's just way too much talent for this. I thought it was somewhat in doubt in the first half. I started to put together scenarios in which Northwestern could hang on to this lead and possibly win the game, but it was a minuscule percentage of a chance. Okay, so it wasn't going to happen in regards to an upset, but this game was more about projection toward how well is this Ohio State team playing? How will they play against a better Maryland team, although they lost today against Wisconsin, of course. But the game in, what is it going to be, 4 weeks? It's 4 weeks from today, right? Or 3 weeks from today, November 26th. So 3 weeks from this Saturday, we've got Ohio State and Columbus with an anemic, putrid rushing attack taking on a stout Michigan rush defense. And now we have example after example after example after example, and then finally not being able to run the football against a rush defense that is horrible, bottom of 25 in the country. Finally, in the second half, Ohio State dedicated to the run, and Mayan Williams got loose for what? 111 yards on 26 carries. Had to slug it 26 times for $111. That's just over 4 yards per carry, which is not good. Top running backs in college football should be averaging 5.5 to 6+ yards per carry. Okay. Travion Henderson missing. Okay. Northwestern knowing the weather conditions, loading up in the box on the run, especially in the quarters in which they had the wind in their favor. Okay. Makes sense. So there were some conditions there in play that made it difficult to run. When Ohio State finally ran, what happened? When they finally got that touchdown drive going. They ran the play that we've never seen the entire season, where CJ Stroud actually pulled the ball and nobody went with him because nobody's ever seen him run the football. He ran around end and converted the 4th and 1 for a 20-yard gain. And then late in the game, he pulled it out and they had a actual quarterback design run. So my thought process here, and I'd like to hear from you, and again, we're going to take this up to the Georgia-Tennessee kickoff. My thought process is that either Ryan Day was saving all this for Michigan. Either he was saving these CJ Stroud dedicated runs for Michigan and needed to generate some offense in a swirling wind, rain conditions, can't run the ball traditionally. And so, you know what? Just got to throw it out now. Or he's been saving these plays for late in the season to put on tape for Michigan to have to scout and prepare for. I tend to think it's the latter. I tend to think that it's the latter just because they weren't that much in jeopardy of losing this game without those plays. Although I guess Ryan Day did not certainly want to go into halftime down 7-0, and they may have been 7-0. Also, the Emeka Egbuka play, which was kind of an exotic end-around play for the touchdown in the first half, that's going to be probably a precursor as well to complementing this rushing offense. That's what we're going to see out of Ohio State. So my two main points: still can't run the ball from a traditional back set, but number two, CJ Stroud running the football now, actually took off a couple times in the pocket running the football. So he's been encouraged. There's no doubt about that. And then number two, designed quarterback run plays. And again, motivation is Michigan, of course, but were they saving those for Michigan, or is this what Ryan Day planned to put on tape for Michigan to have to prepare for and take a lot of time in preparing for one CJ Stroud? We want to talk some TCU as well, but I want to see what you guys have to say. Frank says Ohio State is horrible. Absolutely. They are an atrocious football team. They have no business being ranked. They have no business. I don't know. What are they? They're like 0-8 now. Yeah, they're pathetic. Yes. No running game. Yes. Frank, please. The narrative. Yes, he's a horrible coach. Ryan Day is a terrible coach. Now we're going off the deep end the other way. And this is what happens. People go off the deep end. It's Armageddon and it's the end of the world and the sky is falling and Ohio State's horrible and they can't win. And there's no way that they can find, a running game. And yeah, I will agree that the running game looks awful and it's probably not going to be completely fixed. They're not going to switch on a running game in the last 3 weeks of the season that looks like vintage Archie Griffin, fill in the blank, Keith Byers, Ezekiel Elliott, most recently J.K. Dobbins type of running attack. And of course, the running backs aren't the issue. It's the offensive line I'm pointing to. So they're not going to flip a switch. I get it. But the sky's not falling. This is a national championship contending team. Now, will they be able to beat Michigan? This is a huge issue. Huge issue. They still have a lot of advantages over Michigan, but this is a huge issue that appear to be fixed starting with week 1 against Notre Dame. It is not. Frank, back off now, Frank. This is a bit much. Okay. Jared, you have to run the ball in the Big Ten come November. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Darren, Ohio State is not going to beat Michigan playing like that. Yes, we're all aware of that. Again, this was not the Ohio State-Michigan game, so we don't need to make that transfer. We are here to analyze it and obviously compare. So these are all points well taken, everyone. We agree. We're all on the same page, I believe, that Ohio State's running game is not what it should be. Let's also understand that we can pick apart Michigan's team and their performance against Iowa. We can pick apart their performance against Maryland, and I'm sure they're going to have a few others. Darren says, if Michigan dominates Rutgers the way we all expect them to tonight, they should be ranked ahead of Ohio State. Well, somebody does have them ranked ahead of Ohio State. We'll see what the committee does. Ohio State will take a beating in the committee rankings, I would think, and they should. Now, the committee and everyone else shouldn't be hyper-focused just on this game. Recency bias. Too many people all of a sudden, oh, you played a lousy game. Throw them back to number 8. No, it's a resume. It's a full season, complete picture. Let's understand game conditions as well. So it is a knock against Ohio State. Yes, just like the TCU situation, we will get to that as well. We're a national college football show here, so we will get to everything that's important before we, again, take you up to, and it's coming very soon here. So let's get to TCU. There was a very unfortunate call in the TCU game. Very unfortunate call that I want to get to. Keep me honest on Georgia, Tennessee. So I've got stars all over my notepad on this one. Texas Tech leads 17-13. They've got TCU backed up inside their own 20. Number 19 for Texas Tech, a sack. Wilson, a sack on Max Duggan. Throws him back like 12 or 15 yards. Would have made it almost impossible to convert the first down. Texas Tech led at this point in the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes left to play, 17-13, and they have stopped TCU on a sack. And guess what? The player is called for face mask. He did not commit a face mask. He grabbed the quarterback by the shoulder and flung him around. He twisted him around, grabbing him by the shoulder. Why was this not reviewed? First of all, what's wrong with the officiating process in the Big 12? Number 2, what is wrong with Joey McGuire at Texas Tech? Not him specifically, but in regards to getting the information to him to say, coach, demand this, throw a fit. And maybe he was. Maybe they just didn't have the camera on him at the time. This is why coaches, I'm not going to get into the whole process of the officiating process right now. But, Texas Tech got ripped off. They got ripped off, and I know we see the final score was 34-24, and it was 34-17 with a minute left. This was a close game that TCU pulled out. They pulled out, and again, Texas Tech would have had the ball with 10 minutes left in the game, up 17-13, but there was a horrendous phantom face mask call that allowed TCU to get a first down, and they go from having to punt inside their 5 or 10 yard line to getting first down after first down. Now, could have Texas Tech stopped them and continue to win the game? Yes, they blew the game. They lost the game. TCU took advantage of that poor officiating and put the throttle down and won the game. So all credit to TCU. That one play did not win or lose the game, but it completely changed the game situation. I hate to see that. I hate when the officials get in the way of a good football game and possibly the outcome. Again, I'm not going to credit Texas Tech with the win. It's not like it was the last play of the game. I'm not going to take away this win from TCU because they dominated the final 10 minutes of this game. However, once again, the officials changed the game situation. Other than that, TCU looks like a vulnerable football team, but we've all known that the entire time. So are they going to continue to walk this tightrope all the way through the season? Here we go. That's another win down. They're 9-0. They've got 4 more. They've got 3 pretty difficult games, including Texas, including Baylor. And they've got a Big 12 championship game, which in and of itself if the theory holds, and I believe there is validity to it, if the theory holds that it is difficult to defeat a particular team twice in one season, and conference championship game history will tell us that, and also the playoffs will tell us that, in the postseason, basically the bowl games, because there have been repeat matchups in bowl games, will tell us that it's tough to beat that. I'm not into cliches and made up things about trap games and that sort of thing until proven with data. But we can go back, and we will, over the final few weeks of the season. We will do this here at the Voice of College Football. We will go through bowl season, championships, conference championship season, etc., to show that it is difficult to beat a team like Alabama, Georgia situation in 2021, to beat a team a second time. And TCU is going to have to do that in the conference championship game. This game, they should take a hit on. They played a 4-5 Texas Tech team, a pretty good team, though. Top 45 to 50 team in the nation, but they struggled. And if Texas Tech would have been on its game in regards to calling the game, they're aggressive on fourth down. I get that. The advanced metrics and the analytics make sense. They mean something, but they were too aggressive too early in the game with Texas Tech, and they cost themselves a chance to win this game. All right, we'll be here throughout the day. We're going to, of course, be locked in on Georgia, Tennessee, and the rest of the 3:30 games, and we'll be back here at the Voice of College Football. Give me a call tonight, 11:30 Eastern time, after all the primetime games. Huge day in college football. We'll be right here. We appreciate everybody online. I don't see any questions, so we appreciate it. Enjoy the football, and we'll see you tonight at 11:30 Eastern time, and we'll be back a number of times before that right here at the Voice of College Football.